Welcome back to Africa This Week. In a continent where data is the currency of accountability, Nigeria is bracing up for one of Africa's most important elections in 2019, where democratic process would be put to test in less than 30 days from now. Since political campaigns officially began last November, Africa's most populous nation has continued to witness the good, the bad, and the dramatic, a mix of what to expect in the coming days. Joining me now to dig deep, I have Alfred Kemepado, policy analyst and social commentator. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course, Nigeria is Africa's largest economy and democracy. How critical is this upcoming elections to the nation and to Africa?
Definitely borrowing from what Nelson Mandela said about Nigeria getting it right to uplift the whole of Africa. It's very critical, not even beyond that, considering our economic input, our population input to the world, and the strategic place we hold both in economy, security, and the social environment of the whole of Africa, and the impression is going to launch about Africa. So it's critical and important, but most important, it's the upping of the welfare of the Nigerians. That is most important. Okay,
so looking at the welfare of Nigerians, part of it is the collection of PVC, which it seems to be a little bit low compared to 2015. What would you say is responsible for the low turnout of the, acquiring of the PVCs?
I think primarily what is responsible is the voters themselves. What we need to do as members of the media and civil society is for us to up the debate, or for us to increase the sensitization for people to see election beyond what they may be perceiving elections to be today. Elections is really not a festival, but a time to recruit, not just to recruit, but to recruit those that will steer the ship of state, those that will determine whether you have good hospitals, those that will determine whether you have good roads, those that will determine whether you have good jobs, those that will determine whether you have a better system that will function better, not for just we that are today, but for the generations ahead. So I think the problem is with the electorate. For me, as a person, I'm not too disturbed about the number of PVCs that have been collected. No. Whether they are just this amount or they are lower than this is not really the issue for me. The issue is those that have collected the PVC, how have they been able to translate their PVCs to votes that reflects what they really think, especially in this era of vote buying, where people are distracted from what they should ordinarily think about aspirants with respect to the deliverables, if aspirants have capacity to deliver on the promises. So that's my area of concentration. So even if we have half of the PVCs and half of the population voting now, that's not, it's okay, but are they really translating it democratically, like the village woman in Sokoto and the one in Focados? Is she really going to the polling unit asking questions like, who is this person contesting? What is his pedigree? What is in his capacity to deliver? What has he done before? You understand? What does he understand about the Nigerian state and the current debates? You understand? Okay, on the basis of this, let me vote for him. The reason is this: if we can get it up to that extent, then we may have succeeded in voting in people who have the capacity to deliver on the job, which will also increase our productivity as a country, and the voter turnout over time will increase. After all, there are democracies and there are systems that depend on the electoral
going by your concerns as regards whether these PVCs that are being collected will translate into original votes based on
original
votes. If you look at the litmus test from the elections that we had in Ekiti and also the very recent one we had in Osun State, do you feel people would have learned the proper usage of their PVCs?
Yeah, I think what to learn from the Ekiti, especially, we had the issues of vote buying. Then what we should also learn from that of Osun is that, to a large extent, I think from what we read in the papers and what we saw in the TV, democracy played. But the contradiction is, how come the marginal aspect of the voting, which was towards the tail end, was marred with so much violence and contradicted all that we had thought about the INEC and many other things. So the truth is, we have beyond teething problems within our electoral systems that we need to sort, you understand? So for now, let's call a spade a spade. INEC needs to up a game. INEC is still far from what we hope for. So
right, that is one side for the electoral umpire. Let us look at party activities. If intra-party primaries, could be deeply flawed, vicious, chaotic, polarizing, and bloody, what should we expect when election, in the middle of election, during election, when the stakes will be very much higher?
Well, I think we can only pray that it doesn't get that bad, because that is why, for me as a person, right, I don't really subscribe to all of this signing of these peace accords and all of these agreements. All of that is just the media frenzy. What we would expect during the main election will be a direct product of the body language, the attitude, and the behind the door meetings of these major aspirants and what they tell other aspirants. This is not to quote any particular person, but the quote is universal and acceptable. When a politician realizes, or when an aspirant or a candidate, so to say, realizes that nobody's ambition is worth anybody's blood, that you are contesting for an election should just stop at presenting yourself to serve and not to instigate any form of violence. And like the Africans popularly say, when you throw stone into the market, you don't know who is going to hit. So let us not perpetuate violence, because you don't know who is going to be a casualty, who is going to be a victim of that violence. So I would just want to call on the major aspirants to go indoors with their party stalwarts, their party officials, their supporters and everything, and continue to conscientize them that the election is not about violence, it's not a do or die affair, as President Buhari also said in recent times. So that is what we need to do, but without pretense. I've been in practical politics for a long time. It is not about the thug in the street. It's about the candidate that is contesting and the political elite, because they fuel whatever the thug is doing. Right. If the thug is violent, or if you say the voter is violent, it is fueled by them. If the voter is peaceful, it's also fueled by them. So we should concentrate more of them. It's like this Pareto principle. Right. 80% of the problem is them. It is 20% of the problem that is the boy in the streets.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now if you are concerned about what the politicians will be doing themselves, the activities of the politicians, which will, of course, lead to what the thugs, those who are the loyalists, will be doing on the road. Now we have a new IG in town, who is the new sheriff in town, let me just put it that way, who is saying that I'm going to be fair to all the parties, everyone that is contesting. But do you think, or what exactly can be done to ensure that policing is done properly and it won't come out to look like they are supporting one political party against the other?
Well, I think what the IG needs to do is to stay true to what he has just said. The IG has just resumed. We have not been able to really judge his character, his attitude, his police culture with respect to his assumption as IG. The time is just too short. But we can only pray that the institution is permitted to work for all and not for anybody. Because the truth is, after all, we all need that Nigeria for him to be an IG. Right. You also need that Nigeria for you to have a media station here. So everybody should concentrate on working towards that better Nigeria. So let's just give the IG the time. However, the IG has inherited, as much as he has inherited assets, he has also inherited liabilities. Liabilities in the form of negative vibes and negative attitudes that is embedded in the police.
We seem to have seen him in action, actually.
Well, that's why I say it's too early to judge him. Don't forget that the problems of the police didn't start with the IG. Right. And don't forget that, yes, everybody can come and mouth anything against the police, but you know that they are a force that has not been supported the way they are supposed to be supported.
Okay, because of our little time, let me just quickly ask you this very last question before we close the program. One thing, I don't know how worried you are last election, we don't have much of political parties to contend in, for the election. Now we're having many politicians who are coming on board, many parties who are registering their candidates. Are you worried how long the ballot paper would be? Because for me, I'm thinking it might be as long as my praying mat, and how confusing it would be for the electorates to choose their parties.
Well, I am really worried. For me as a person, I'm an advocate of very few parties, you understand, so that voters can really concentrate. Look at the Americas. It's either you are blue or you are a red state. By that I mean you are a Democrat or you are a Republican. You come to the UK too. It's either you are the Tory or you are the Labour. You have one or two. But for Nigeria, you have a catalogue of political parties, and it's somewhat confusing. However, it's okay. It may have given potency to the debate that give everybody the space to deal with. But the most important thing, especially for the presidency, I see just about two candidates, respect to other candidates, which is the candidate of the APC,
least that's what you see, your opinion,
and the PDP. You get what I'm trying to say? So I think with respect to the presidency, people should concentrate more on those areas, because votes going to other areas, for me, it's marginal. But in other local elections, like I went through Imo State yesterday, I've seen very tough candidates in about 4 to 5 political parties. So these are the things that the voters may have to deal with. But in all, let the voters listen to the manifesto and the persons and the person that is contesting. That is what is important, because it doesn't matter the party is coming from. If your ideologies are right, if your ideologies are what will sustain and survive, promote and protect this nation, irrespective of your party, you should be voted for. So the electorate should concentrate more on the candidate and trace the candidate to the flag of the party the candidate is flying.
Well, that's a very good take home. Thank you so much, policy analyst and social commentator Alfred Kemepado. Thank you so much for coming on the program Africa. Well, elections come and go, and in most parts of Africa, it's back to status quo for people, stuck with leaders who seem to have an expertise in failing on promises and falling short on expectations. Beyond hoping for better days, the people will need to take action to create a moment where voting day is not just another political event, but an avenue for the dividends of democracy to find expression. I've been your guide, Ibrahim Shita. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.